right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ross, and with me this evening, again, is my good friend, Barbara Andrews. Thank you, Barbara, for coming on. And we have, can you hear me, Barbara?
I can. You're
Okay,
welcome.
okay. We had, let me just give you guys a quick backdrop of this. We already had conversations on this platform before,
Hmm.
and you were posting some things. Well, actually, not you, but I saw some things about relationships and love in particular, and
Hmm.
it made me think about you and the work that you do.
Hmm.
So we got a conversation going. We had good conversation, long conversation about some of the things that we've both witnessed and experienced, as far as relationships and love is concerned.
Hmm.
And so we agreed to do another do a one-on-one about this. And if anybody have any questions that you guys want to ask or comments that you guys want to make, please do so, because I think this is going to be a good, interesting conversation. So before we get started on this episode, Barb, can you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely.
All right.
My name is Barbara Andrews. I am an author of two books. One is War Before Wisdom. The other one is You Can Be You. War Before Wisdom is a comeback. I pulled it off the shelf so you won't find it. You may see it on Amazon, but it's not for sale because I pulled it off, and I'm redoing it. So that's going to come back. But You Can Be You. You can find that on the shelf. By day, I am a marriage and family therapist. I am also an educator. Um, and I am a mother of three.
All right. All right. All right. Now, as a marriage and family therapist, what are the biggest issues that you come across in your practice?
Wow. Do you really want to know the answer to that? I think you do know the answer because we all have different mindsets. We think differently. We have, different views and how we see things. It's communication.
Mm,
Communication has always been one of the biggest things that I've had to, show, and they don't really notice it. They never really notice it until I have this game that I play with them, and this game actually helps them focus. It's supposed to help them focus on listening to what their partner is saying. So their partner is giving instructions. They have their back turned so that they're not looking at what's happening because they'll start an argument. That's not what I told you to do, right?
mm, mhm.
So they literally have their backs turned, and one person, whoever wants to go first, will literally tell them what to write on that paper. And they have to give specific instructions, and you have to really listen clearly. So sometimes the communication barrier comes from not articulating yourself well. And sometimes it comes from not listening to what's being articulated,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So when this happens and they turn around and they show what the picture looks like, they both are doing the same thing. So while the dictator is actually doing what they're asking their partner to do, they're supposed to turn around and it's supposed to look exactly the same. But it never do. It's
mm.
always something slightly off. That's a good thing because you don't have really bad communication when something is slightly off. But when everything is skewed, it's one of the two things, and I can hear it, but they can't. And I'm just cracking up laughing, and they're laughing, and they're wondering what Miss B, what? Ah, you gotta wait until you turn around, and I'll tell you guys what's what. you know.
Right.
So, and it's funny because I get to tell them, well, you did tell him or her to do this, right? But you never said do that. You missed that. Right. And this is something that happens in relationships all the time, especially when we're upset with each other. We say things to each other and we don't recognize that we missed a piece of information. Have you ever did something, Mark? Let me ask you this question. Have you ever been talking to your wife, you guys having this conversation, and you think about saying what you're going to say, and you really thought you said it, but you never said it, you just thought it? Have that ever
Mhm.
happened to you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, it's happened to the best of all of us, but nobody would ever agree
Yeah.
that that's what's happened because they don't want us to be wrong.
Mm. Mm.
And so when you argue back and forth, I did tell you, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Mm.
And it took me a
Mm.
minute to realize my kids caught me on that
Mm.
because they used to tell me, Ma, you didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
And you have so much going on in your
Yeah.
life and in
Yeah.
your mind that you really thought you said it. But we rather argue about it than to take some time to really reflect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, for brothers, we don't want to take that L. So some of us, we tend to overtalk, and we make big stuff out of little stuff, you
Mhm.
know, and to some extent that kind of shows emotional immaturity. You know what I'm saying? When people don't just shut up, like, you know what? I get it. All right. It's not a matter of winning and losing. It's a matter of understanding what's being said and what's not being said.
Absolutely.
You dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I apologize for the noise here. I agree with that. I don't agree with the fact that it's totally emotional immaturity. I
To some
do
extent, yeah.
agree to some extent.
Yeah.
I think that um, it could possibly be that a person, it's so many dynamics that can go with that causes that emotional immaturity. That's why I agree to disagree. So
Yeah.
there's some causations that happen that causes that.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse, it's a fact. Okay.
Mhm.
So I guess I don't want to go ahead of myself. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll get into that, a little bit later. But, it is true that, the emotions, they drive a lot. But I'll let you go from here
Oh
because
no,
I have a whole lot to say about that.
for sure, for sure. And as a marriage and family therapist,
Mhm,
and we talked about this more than once, I think,
mhm,
when we talk about relationships and even black love,
mhm.
you know, the lines get so skewed, whatever what I'm trying to say,
It's skewed.
because we have this. It's not even a matter of a communication barrier. It's an expectation barrier, I think, that we tend to project amongst ourselves. You know, like, and I want us to get into this topic too. Like, what do you bring to the table? That makes me laugh every time I hear a reel talk about what you bring to the table. What does that even mean?
That's stigma.
What does
It's
that even mean?
stigma. It's control. It's all of the above. It's crazy, but I understand it. I understand it, and I'll tell you why I understand it. There has been so much scrutiny, right? In the lives of black people. There's been so much that they've been around because, and it and as they grew up, the scrutiny happens.
Mm,
Why? Because they see this and they try to project what they see into you know, uh, what they should do in the relationship as they get older, right? So these expectations comes from what they saw and what they grew up around. when you get older and you don't choose your own way, it's okay to take some of the things that but it's not okay to take everything over. Why? Because that's their relationship.
Mm,
It's
mm,
not yours.
mm, mhm.
And I tell all of my married couples, make your relationship your own. It's just like a business. You're going to create that business. That business is going to be the face of you. Your marriage is you complement each other, right? So
Mm.
what you guys decide to do, it doesn't matter what the world decides. That's your marriage. And if you two get along doing what you're doing that way, what are
Mhm.
you trying to change it for?
Is it working? More than
Is it
likely,
working? Yes. Then it's
yeah.
okay.
Right,
Right?
right.
So let me give you, for instance, here, and a lot of people won't agree with me with this, and that's okay. Right? I don't agree with cheating. So I'm not saying that. Right? So I've known this couple for many years. I never counseled them, but I've known this couple that has been married for years. And one of the spouses stepped out a lot. The other spouse knew. So it got to the point where, hey, I don't know if the other spouse started doing it too, but look, you do you, I do me.
Mm.
But they stayed together. But eventually it got tiresome. Guess what they did? I'm sure there was all kind of mouths against both of them.
Mm.
I get it. It don't look right. It's
Mm.
distasteful. Yes. But at the end of the day, are they still together? Mm-hmm. Are they more in love today than they was yesterday? Mm-hmm.
Mm. Mm.
It's the hard things that we don't want to deal with. That's the scrutiny I'm talking about. That's part of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you think of, that's their marriage. They did what worked. They didn't separate and move into different houses.
Mm. Mm.
They made it work,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Again, I don't agree with, infidelity. I don't. But at the same time, you had two adults who made a decision, but they came back together. However, they worked it out, I don't know. I wasn't their counselor, right? I
Yeah.
don't know what they did. I don't know what steps they took.
Yeah.
But they literally, that's why I say work out your marriage how you see fit. Don't match your marriage with somebody else's.
Mm.
Don't match your relationship with nobody else's. Whether
Mhm.
it's romantic, whether it's family relationships, whether it's friendship relationships, I don't care what kind of relationship it is. If your friendship is okay and it's nothing wrong with it and you two are balancing things out, what are you worried about? Why are you fighting? Because John told his mama that, Betty was doing this. And so mom want to now dictate what John do with Betty. And
Mm.
Betty don't like it because John shouldn't be telling mama our business anyway.
That part. That part. Why bring everybody else into your business?
But we all need someone to talk to. Not everybody agree with that. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's okay. Everybody needs somebody to be an ear.
Mm.
Because sometimes you hear yourself, right?
Mhm.
You hear yourself, but that other person is just listening and ain't talking. You begin to listen to what you're saying and recognize your error. And if you don't recognize your error, it's because you don't think you do anything wrong.
Mm.
That's the problem.
Mm.
So now you're asking somebody to side with you because you don't hear anything wrong with what you said or did. We all do things that are typically out of pocket. We cause things to happen. All of us do, right? It's
Right.
not really a wrong or right. It's just something that just was distasteful in that relationship,
Mm.
right? Something distasteful that somebody said or did, and then it sent the other one off. So your energy is going to match
Mm.
unless one of them is more, mature in that emotional area. And
Mm.
they can say, hey, babe, why did why did I get that comment? Instead of, oh, that's how you coming for me?
Yeah. Yeah,
You understand?
I totally get it. I totally get it.
I
You
know
know,
I said a whole lot, but
oh no, and and two things I got from that. Uh, so it's in some respects, love and marriage, which I titled the name of this particular episode, is subjective because basically what's good for me may not be good for you. But if it's working over here, who are we to complain? Because we're dealing with it, the way that we know how, and we love each other enough to endure it. And that word endure is something that a lot of people miss on. We don't endure. We want microwave. We want to put it in the microwave, put it on for 2 minutes, and boom, we got the perfect man or we got the perfect woman. And life will reveal to you that there is no such thing. We're not perfect. We're all flawed. We're all
but
flawed.
let me help you on that. Enduring is hard. It's not
It
for
is.
everybody. So here's my take on it. And I don't think that, just audience know that I don't think I'm right about everything. But honey, when I tell you that I've gone through so much that I understand, I do. I understand both sides. When you can be in a relationship and learn from it, you can talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about it and you can be about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about enduring, it is extremely hard. This is what our ancestors did. They endured despite the fact that they was being beat, despite the fact that they was, abused in whatever way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact, because it was the breadwinner, right? The breadwinner is the one who had the control with our ancestors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they endured for the children, right? And
Yeah.
so whether
Yeah.
it was the man or the woman,
Yeah.
they endured. But most of in our ancestors, it was with just the woman that had to endure. But
Mm-hmm.
as time went on, it was a two-way party,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when I say endure, nobody have to endure anything.
Correct. We
and this
choose.
right, in this
Yes.
day and age, nobody has to endure anything unless two people are willing to endure together. And I'm gonna say that again.
Mm.
Nobody needs to endure anything unless two of you at the same time is willing to endure.
Mm. Mm.
Because you don't have to take nothing from anybody. And let me make this a little bit more simpler, right? And not make it seem confrontational, because it's not always confrontational. There are times where you're in the relationship and you don't agree, right?
Right.
And it could cause a conflicting argument that brings up some other stuff, right? So you have to know within yourself that you love this person, your spouse, so much, whether it's your spouse, a friend, or whoever they are, a family member, and y'all close. This goes for across the board. Okay. You don't have to endure anything. There's a way that you can accept, you both can agree to disagree and go your part ways without anybody hurting each other, without stipulations, with all of the goofiness that comes along with it.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
If you tell your partner, hey, I'm changing. Ever since these things happened, I've changed and I've recognized some things. And I know that, this is how I was before, but this is how I want to approach this now.
Yeah.
And I've been approaching it this way, but not you, because you don't never want to tell nobody you, because you're starting something.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
now I feel that things are still the same in your area. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that because I'm changing, it's driving us further apart. I want you to be you. I want you to
Mm.
continue to be who you're comfortable being.
Yeah.
But I'm not comfortable being in that space anymore.
Mm.
I love you dearly, but
Yeah.
that's you've endured enough
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you've made some changes, but the other partner didn't. The other partner don't feel like there's anything wrong with them.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to argue and then split up and be like, I hate that B. I hate that Negro.
Yeah, yeah.
right? You can part ways as adults. But anyway, that's enduring for me.
Indeed, indeed. And you know, with enduring, Sister Barbara, comes growth.
Ah, yes.
And you know, I've learned over the last few months, well, last few years actually, that in order for me to grow, I really had to let the old Mark go.
Mm-hmm.
I had to let
Woo.
some of the old thinking go because I failed my first marriage because I was just like that. I
Mm-hmm.
thought everything was cool and didn't take heed to the signs. I was much younger too. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the me now would have saw it and I would have acted on it. But it is what it is. I'm here now.
Right.
But I am wise enough and open enough to understand that in order for me to grow, I had to get rid of that old stuff. I had to
Mm-hmm.
get rid of the old thinking that
Mm-hmm.
everything is cool, but in reality, there's some things that I need to work on to better this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the relationship, but to better myself as a person, bro.
That's key right there.
Yeah.
That's key right there. And, and,
Yeah.
and, and that's why a lot of our Black relationships don't work is because of the mentality.
Yeah.
Right, our mentality. um I find, I've gone through so many different things myself, right, where I recognize my maturity level and how I thought was just not there. One, it's not a knock to anybody. It has a lot to do with your how you grew up, what you grew up around, what you
Hmm.
grew up listening to, what
Hmm.
you grew up seeing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So a lot of that reshapes the mind. And this is funny because this is one of the things I put in my notes before you called. Is,
Okay.
is is different communication we hit already, and now we're talking about reshaping the mindset. And I tell you, that's the hardest thing to do, is to reshape your mind. So you can't do any enduring if your mindset isn't reshaped, right?
Uh,
Because the world has already shaped your mind to,
Absolutely.
we have to be this way, we have to talk this way, we have to have this much money, and we have to
Hmm.
live like this, and we got to have that, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
Charlie Brown. I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to change your mindset. How do we change our mindset, Miss B? We change our mindset by, you know some people don't like reading no more. Reading is definitely a great personal development. I learned a lot by reading the Bible, first of all, to change my mindset, because what the world taught me was how to be mean, evil, combative, sneaky, manipulative, all of the above, right? And
Yep.
then some,
It taught
right?
you to be very unsuccessful in life.
Teach you how to be, untruthful. You
Yes,
don't even know how to be yourself.
indeed.
So I'm just gonna do me. Do you, boo?
And we have a lot of man, listen.
But if you when you reshape your mindset, you have a you take some steps back and you think about who you are, where you come from, why are you
Mhm.
like this, how can I make these changes? And you can't do it by yourself just by sitting back thinking about it. It takes reading books, it takes talking to people, it takes getting a therapist, it takes doing whatever you need to do to be
Mhm.
able to recognize who Barbara is, who Mark is. And that's the only reason why you was able to see that you were being a certain way when you were younger in your first marriage, and saying, hey, I can do better in my next marriage, right? These are the
Mhm.
things I'm going to do.
Mhm.
It's not contingent upon what she does or what he does. It's contingent upon you and how you, now, this person that you're choosing before you even marry him
Mhm. Mhm.
or
Mhm.
her,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
need to know if you're going to be able to tolerate this stuff that,
Mhm.
with the changes you made with yourself. Are you going to tolerate that stuff?
Mhm.
And if you're going to tolerate it, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to, are you going to handle that with aggression? Are you
Mhm.
going to handle it with a soft touch? Are you going to feel like you're a punk?
Mhm.
Are Are you gonna feel like you're a woman? Woman, are you gonna feel like women? Are you gonna feel like you're what's the word that they usually feel like a slave controlled? Because a controlled person is a slave, right? So are
Yes.
you gonna feel like that just because you've made some changes in your life, and you're gonna just allow somebody to come into your life and just rearrange everything that you fixed about yourself?
Mm,
You're going to let them come in and dictate?
mm.
You set a foundation. And so you talked about earlier about expectations. I never touched that, right?
No,
This
no.
falls
Yes.
into that. The
Does.
expectations is the
Relationships are
control.
transactional now.
Mm-hmm.
Give me
Yep. So
this
when,
so I can give you that. But go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So that those expectations is control.
Mm,
And a lot of people won't agree with that. No, I have a right to have some yes, you do. It's how you roll out those expectations that makes it like
mm,
wrong, morally wrong,
mm-hmm.
right? So let's just give an example here. Okay, so say like I'm middle class. Okay. I'm
Right.
middle class. I got things going for myself. I don't need nothing else, right? I'm um I'm well put together, right? Education, you know, got a couple of kids. We all a little ratchet, but not that ratchet, right? We all right. Some guy come along, he's well put together. He makes two times more than she makes, right? She all right with that? Is he all right with that? No, wait,
Yeah.
you got two ratchet kids. You barely make enough. I need you to, wait a minute. First of all, you don't get to come in and dictate what you either be with me or you don't.
That's
You
it.
either be with me or you don't. I know you make this. I love it. You're a nice man. You smell good. You got your stuff going on. Most men don't really, not most. Take that back. Lord forgive me. Some men come into a woman's life who's already well put together, and it's her fault. I said it. It's her fault because she's placed a man who is not well put together. Oh, I was just being, I saw, yeah, you saw his potential. Did he see his potential? He saw your pocket.
Woo.
He saw how you were set up.
Woo.
He came in and he took over your foundation and did what you allowed him to do. I would never let a man come into my house and do what he wants to do. I was working and I was doing that. Man that you brought into your house did not have a job. He didn't have a car. He came in and took over your home, your kids, your food, your car. He driving you to work and you waiting for him to pick you up.
In your car.
Because what you're imagining is that kind of man who literally already have this stuff because you want that kind of life. So you force this kind of life upon this man, and this man ain't ready for that. Right? So
Yeah.
there's so many
Yeah.
different dynamics to that, but that's one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you have some couples who are imbalanced like that, and she spoils the heck out of him, and when he gets on his feet, he spoils the heck out of her.
Mm.
I've seen that too.
Mm. I got
Right?
I got two comments, and I want to use this one first. My wife says men use the word submissive, but expect to control the woman and for her to wait on him hand and foot. And another one,
Wait, say that again.
men
Men
use the
use the
word
word
submissive,
submissive.
but expect to control the woman and for her to wait on him hand and foot. My take on that is a real man wouldn't want a woman to wait on you hand and foot like that. I mean, and I thought I brought the 50-50 thing. We're a team.
Mhm.
We're a
That's
team,
it. That's it.
right? If I know you have limitations on doing X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to force that on you.
Mhm.
I'll do X, Y, and Z. You
Mhm.
dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Do what you do, and I do what I do to make this thing work. You know what I'm saying? We come together and form Voltron, bro. I mean, hey, it can be done. But like you said, the expectations has to be set in a manner that both people can understand each other's perspectives, because we need to throw that word in the mix too, perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to understand too that, and I think this part's important too. And you mentioned it, the environment that we grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
That's big, because if you grew up in a janky environment,
Mm-hmm.
where you saw abuse and just all kinds of riffraff, that's your normal. That's your normal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
expect a guy or a woman to come into your life and try to make this thing work, because it won't. Your perspectives are way the hell different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can even be toxic, because that other person that's coming into your life, you know, that could be bad, because that person can't even identify with what you went through. And you're going to give that mess to the relationship, because that's what you know. That's what you know. And it's not a matter of fault. I'm not pointing the finger, but it is what it is. You are you're part of your environment. And that is what you know.
A product of your environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, the, the comment continues. Whole time you don't know what submission really means, because the Bible says, husbands, submit to your wives too. And it does.
It most certainly does. But wait a minute. There's a significant difference. We don't die being submissive, but the men do.
Mm,
He said that he would die, right?
mm,
And that he would die for the church.
mm.
Die for the church. Who's the church? So that's the man's way of being submissive. He's out there, he's sweating, and he's a protector. So he's going to die for his family.
Of course.
The woman is submitting to him in ways that compliments her man. But we wouldn't know about that because we never seen the way that looks. So we're thinking in slavery mentality, which is why women always. And I was one of them
Mm-hmm.
before I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so please don't feel like I'm on here like thinking I know everything and I ain't been through it. That's why I started off that way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, you have to. It's good to have experience before you even try to talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you talked about this submissive thing it is control. Men, some I won't say men, because not every man is a man, and not every woman is a woman.
I was going there, but you got me
We
first,
got
so go
boys
ahead.
and we got girls.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
So
indeed.
let's talk about me. Okay. So Miss Barbara was a girl in her 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I was not, I started off as a woman, okay, because I had kids young and I was literally going through the motions as a wife. I made sure things was taken care of around the house like I was supposed to. I made sure dinner was cooked. I made sure when the kid's father got off work that he had bath running, that he had food to eat. I did what I needed to do. But once that was over, I went to be a girl. I was no longer. I didn't continue in the woman, and I never seen that in my life. In
Mm-hmm.
my young life, I was not surrounded around that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my mom, she was like that, but I didn't really get a chance to see that because mom was by herself when we was with her. Right? When I don't I remember her and my father being together, but I don't remember I remember how she kept the house clean. I remember how she cooked for us, but I never seen how she was with my father because I don't even remember always seeing them in the house together, but they were. We lived in the house together because she would be in one area and he would be in another.
Mm.
So I don't, that's how I saw it. It doesn't mean that it's true, but you know, when you're little and you're growing up, everything looks skewed. It don't seem as clear
Mm-hmm.
unless it's right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here it is, you know, Barb had this imagination just like every little girl has, you know, and I worked out my imagination with my kid's father. I only have one kid's father, three kids, right?
Mm.
So I was this young woman who turned into a little girl once that relationship ended.
Mm.
And I had a little girl mentality.
Mm.
So now I'm thinking like everybody else thinking, oh, he just wanted to control me. He just wanted to do this and he just wanted to do that. And, you know, blah, 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 blah. But then I had to go through all these other relationships with my girl mentality. Can I tell the truth?
Go ahead. Tell it.
I had to go through all of this stuff in my little girl mentality
Mm.
until I learned that it wasn't always somebody doing something to Barbara. It wasn't always somebody wrong. Barb, look at how you think. Look at how you process what happened. Look at how you approached what happened. What man want to be bothered with that kind of stuff? The Bible tells us that he would rather be on the rooftop of a house than to be in a house with a
Yes,
contentious
sir.
woman.
Contentious. Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying?
Understand.
So I was angry.
Mm.
And I let that little girl mentality ruin a lot of things that probably could have, I don't know if it could have blossomed. Maybe I had immature boyfriends.
You
You know
never
what I'm
get the time to
saying? I
manifest.
liked
So
what
yeah.
I liked at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you
Indeed.
know, I'm saying this so many women out there can begin to recognize who they are as women. Are you being a little girl or are you being a woman?
Mm-hmm.
What defines the difference is how you think. Is how you approach situations with your man, with your husband,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. Men, are you out there with little boy mentalities?
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna want a relationship and you ain't got nothing? Do you really feel like a man?
Listen.
Women, how are you gonna go into the relationship with a man who's got a pocket full of money, who's got a house, a car, he's got things going on for him, but yet you ain't got nothing? You
Mm-hmm.
coming in with a couple of kids and you think you're supposed to run something?
Mm.
No, thank you.
Yes.
You're
And that's
you're you're taking advantage of this man.
mm.
And
Mm.
men, you're taking advantage of that woman
Right.
who's not being a girl, who's
Right.
not being a boy, but they're being men and women. But you also is the problem, man and woman, because
Mm-hmm.
you're allowing stuff like that on your foundation
Mm.
before
Mm.
you even have the conversations, before you even prune it. You wean that into your life if that's
Mm.
what you want. I'm not telling you you can't have a man or a woman that don't have a job and don't have a car and all of that. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying be ready for what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you talk about love and marriage, I mean, you have to talk about that endurance factor. And a lot of people aren't built for that. We're not built for that.
No, think
And
about that. Why? Tell me why we don't think about that. I want you to tell me why we don't think
we
about. Why
don't,
you don't think about that?
I don't think people think about that because we were never taught that.
What else? That's something more significant than that.
We don't
Because
have
we may be taught that.
or not. I don't know. But
Come on, come on.
I think there's a spiritual factor to that too, because you know we we need to have God as a foundation in our lives, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you know, reading the scriptures and learning the scriptures, it really has taught me that I had to step outside of who Mark was. I had to grow the F up because the old Mark wasn't getting it done, Sister Barbara. I'm telling you, I was not making it happen. I mean,
I
yeah,
hear you.
I always held down a job. I always
Mm-hmm.
held down a job. I was always the provider.
Mm-hmm.
You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just because I provided doesn't make me a man.
Don't say that too loud.
It, it I'm wise enough. I'm wise enough now to get that in my 30s, in my 40s, even in my look. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. But once I had that time to really like reflect on my life and realize that I had to drastically change the way that I approached love, relationships, self, my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with God, my relationship with myself.
Oof.
Once I started to have those grown ass man conversations and make those changes,
Mm-hmm.
that's when things started to really like flip on that's when my life really flipped. It
Mm-hmm.
did a 180
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, it was like God was like, man, it took you long enough to get it.
And it do, because we have so much trauma. I don't, one thing I don't want anybody to do, any of our listeners, to think that, to beat themselves up because of certain things, right? I don't want you to
Mhm.
feel like I'm attacking men or women who don't have jobs or who don't have, cars. So, I'm not doing that. I want you to just, what I want you to take from this is how do you expect to be treated? This was once said to me. How do you expect to be treated like a flower when you're not presenting yourself as that beautiful flower?
Come on now.
Right?
Come on
How do
now.
you expect
Yeah.
that? And that goes for
Yeah.
both sides. How,
Yeah.
if a man, how do you expect to be treated like the head of the household? So that I can't use flower for a man, but how do you expect to be considered the man of the house, the head of the household, when she's doing everything and you haven't brought? You got to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is like you said, it doesn't make you a man, but that's a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not attacking you. I want you to think about, what are you placing on your foundation? How are you enduring? Are you a man or a boy? What makes you a man?
A lot
What
of us,
makes you a woman?
a lot of
You
us are
know,
males. We're still at the male stage. We're not men. We're not men. We're not at the men stage yet. We're still at the male stage.
well, the dynamics of this life is so different now. When women begin to and before I get to that, I want to go back to the question I asked you that you never did give me the answer I was looking for.
Well, give me the answer
You
because
gave some great answers, but the reason why is because what was the reason? The reason that men and women are not able to endure appropriately or even understand that they're in an imbalanced relationship is because they consummate, uh, for the best word to use at this point. They consummate, and then they get loopy. I like to say loopy, because that's what we do. Women become loopy, men become, a
goofy.
little goofy. Yeah, I like that. I'll take that, goofy. And that is the dictate, what happens from here. That's the foundation, consummation.
Mm.
We're gonna consummate. Ooh, you made me happy.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
right,
want
right,
nobody
right.
else to have that now.
And dig it, dig it. Yeah,
Vice versa. The
yeah.
women are more aggressive, they're pouncing, you know, and the men are, just taking whatever comes.
I,
Not all of them, and it's all vice versa. You know what I
I,
mean? It is.
yeah,
It's all.
yeah.
It's not just men. It's not just women. It's all of us, and it's the mentality. It's the spirit. Excuse me, that you have inside of you. It's the thought process. It's your whole dynamics. I'm gonna give you some statistics when you're ready.
Okay. Um, I have another question here. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for you, I think it is. What are your thoughts on success dynamics in terms of a woman being extremely well put together, trying to establish herself dating, meaning she's educated,
Mm-hmm.
extremely educated, she has
Mm-hmm.
her own material possessions,
Mm-hmm.
and is successful in her career, but
Mm-hmm.
now contends with a man who has built his worth around being able to provide. And in many cases, it is material, and struggles to see where he can provide value. It's a long-winded question there.
That's okay.
I don't know if you see it on the chat.
So what I heard is, what do you think about a well-educated, well put together woman who has her own stuff? I think we kind of attacked this earlier. She has her own stuff, and then she has a man, did you say, to contend with?
She has a man, but now contends with a man who has built his worth around being able to provide, and in many cases it's material. So it sounds like there's a competition going on.
That's what when you said contend, that's the
first, to me that means competition.
Right. So that's why I say contend.
Yes.
Yeah, what's that? That ain't no relationship.
But some people do make it into a competition.
I don't care. I don't want to.
I know you don't.
Well, and I'm not being rude. It's
no.
I don't. That's not worth even attacking or unpacking, because you already know that that's immoral. How are you a couple in doing that? How are you going to find love in that? How are you going to find unity in that? There's no unification. It's just like in business. In business, people compete against other businesses. They don't compete with each other in the business. What?
Indeed. Yeah.
I'm not talking about. I'm not answering that. It's not worth it. No. But sometimes, let me say this piece though. Sometimes I'm gonna break it up. I'm not going to talk about that though. I'm not. You already know the answer to that, or whoever asked that question, you know the answer to that. Okay,
like it was already answered. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, it is. So when you have some of us successful women, educated, got our stuff, what's together? Are you really together? That's a question for my sisters out there. Are you really together? What constitutes that you're together? Because you got a roof over your head, you can pay your bills, you got a car, you got a nice job, you go around and do things. What constitutes that you are well put together? Yes, I'm so grateful that you.
From a material standpoint.
Wait. But I'm so grateful that you have to build yourself up, but you don't have to be overbearing. You don't have to be, so doggone overbearing that nobody wants to even talk to you.
Okay.
Because you feel like you're just so high quality, Well, no. Well, you need to figure out, if you ain't got a man, you already know why you ain't got a man. And the first thing they say, well, ain't none out there. No, you don't attract the right ones because of how you carry yourself with your education and that doesn't make you. Just like providing for a man doesn't make him. Providing doesn't make him. We're never going to be well put together. That means we're perfect. God did not, he created us perfectly. But we're perfect in the eyes of God because he created us that way. But when we apply the word of God inside of us and we use the word of God in our education, then we can be, because we're under the auspices of Christ. So anything that we do in Christ is perfectly done because it's Christ. It makes us perfect in that moment when we're doing it. But once we finish, we're back to that imperfect flesh. That is nothing but dirt.
At the end of the day.
That is so willing to sin at the drop. And you're sinning right then.
Yeah.
Get mad at me. Yep. Go ahead.
And I'm going to read off this statistic right quick, and I'll chat a little bit.
Okay.
Black women in particular are the last to marry and the first to divorce. To your statement that you made, brothers, and sisters, I would imagine too that there's this long-winded conversation that we both have amongst similar brothers and sisters about, we can't find a good woman and I can't find a good man. And like you said, it's who you're attracting.
Yes.
Because there are good dudes and there are good women
Good
out
women.
there, but what does that good, what do you place
Entail.
onto that good to make him or her good? And I think part of the issue is we place more materialism on what's considered good than what he can do to add happiness to your life.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah. It goes back to the transactional thing, right? If you can do this, and this for me, then I'll do this and this and this. But
we can talk about this all day. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what people view as love.
What? I don't
those standards.
I don't think they're wrong. I think that it's just how they were able to, process it. Until someone shows you it's right? Think about when you were younger and think about what you learned coming up. Mm-hmm. Think about how you learned something as you got older. It was like, what? I didn't know that was how it was supposed to go. I've always seen it or heard it like this. Mm-hmm. But this is the way it's supposed to be. That's the true way. This is the true knowledge. This is the true understanding. Mm-hmm. Right? Haven't you been there before? I have.
Yeah. And that's what made me grow. Yeah. Because
you have to have an open mind.
Certain things.
You got to have an open mind to be able to receive that.
Many brothers don't.
And that's it. Many sisters don't either. But this back and forth. Oh, there ain't no good men, there ain't no good women. Oh, everybody has a different way of thinking and speaking and mentality. Okay, there's somebody for everybody. Mm-hmm. The Bible even shows those different type of dynamic relationships. Right? They're right? Mm-hmm. They're
it's all throughout.
But the thing is they learn because they have one thing in common. They had Christ. Right? So who was Jesus good? That was one of the questions that he said. Why am I good? Why do you consider me good? Did the Bible not say that? So who's good? Ain't no good women or good men out there. No, ain't nobody out there trying to be authentically them so that God can make those changes within them. Right? Because it's true, only God can change you. Right? But God can't even do that if you ain't willing, because he ain't gonna make you do nothing. Right? Mm-hmm. He's not gonna. It's his will. But when you go against his will, these are the kind of relationships you get. You get the divorce rates. And I don't believe that I didn't see any statistics where I believe you said that women are more prone to get divorced quicker than men. Is that what I heard you say? I didn't see anything out there like that. Where did you get that from?
Oh, I didn't write down my source book where I got it. But that wasn't the first time I saw that in researching, this particular topic. That but yeah.
So on the census, it talks about how Black men, 51% of Black men never get married.
Right.
48% of Black women never get married. That's so close. So how can your statement be? Now, I'm not contending.
Right.
But how can it wasn't your statement, but whoever gave you said that.
Oh, understood.
Find the source, because this is very close, and it's not about.
And that was back in 21. So a lot.
Mm-hmm, a lot has changed.
A lot
when it comes to gender disparity, the unfair stuff we was talking about. Yeah. 34.4% of Black men are married in that, and 28.6% Black women are in. But that was 2001. I know doggone well it's higher than that now.
Yeah.
Because it's worse. Look at the type of students that we have, young students who are messing around with grown women. And, and I mean high school and teachers and, all this stuff. They're growing up so early. So I know this gender disparity has gone up high. That's 24 years ago, these statistics, right? And I did that on purpose because I wanted people to see how back in the day, look how close those numbers are. 34. I'm sure that they're very, very close still and probably equal. Right? And it's all what we've been talking. I'm gonna close my notes here, but it's all about what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Is the mindset, the heart, where your heart is. Your heart is not with Christ. People don't believe in God, and that's okay. That's your thing. But be authentically you. Stop trying to change people. Stop trying to make people what you want them to be in the relationship. Sit down and have a conversation and talk about.
And say that one more time.
Huh?
Be authentically you. And
be authentically you.
Changing.
Be authentically you.
Yep.
Stop trying to change people to make them what you want them to be.
Got it.
In the relationship.
Message received. Yeah.
Yes, because at the end of the day, you can't say that person is hurting you. You hurting yourself. Because you're trying to change a person instead of loving who they are. You can, and nobody's telling you to adjust. You have a right to say, hey, babe, I thought this would genuinely work. I did see, I saw some things that, that made me interested in you. And, I was very attracted to it. But now that we're together, I don't see those dynamics. And we've been together for about a year or two. And I don't see those dynamics. And, we're drawing far and far apart. I don't know if you recognize that. Do you see what I'm seeing? He may be like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Or maybe he'd be like, no, because of you. You don't know what kind of person you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. But it's all in the mindset, the way you handle situations when you're together. Mm-hmm. Our emotions. I was talking about emotional intelligence a while back before I went through my surgeries, right? And I hate that I had the abrupt stop. But we allow our emotions to drive us, Mark. We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We allow our emotions to be at the driver's seat. And when anything touches those emotions remotely, just a tad bit, you're out of whack. You like sadness on what's the name of that that animated movie? Sadness and happiness and joy.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You were all nilly-willy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing is going the way you want it to go. Everybody is entitled. And we talk about Caucasian people. Why? You're entitled too. You feel entitled in your relationships. I should be able to have this. That's not your worth. That has nothing to do with your worth. Your wanting and your desire for things is not your worth. Stop getting that confused. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We lost our way. You see my little short. It took me a minute to get used to being. I was clean ball, and it was clean ball not by choice at the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Somebody nicked my hair, and to the point, I went to the shop and got it all nicely shaped, and the person didn't like the boy cut. Well, I was perfectly fine with the boy cut. I didn't like the little round like this. I didn't like this. This is a girl cut. The boy cuts are nicely, tapered and, yeah. I like that. So because I came with it crisp like that, you putting patches in my head. And I know it wasn't like that.
Okay.
So as I began to try to fix it, I got it right, but messed around and nicked it. Mm-hmm. So I had to cut it all off. And in that moment, that person thought that I would lose myself. Do you know that built me? Being completely bald? Mm. Women, you got to love yourself. That was the first time I literally felt the passion of love for myself. I saw who I really was. I saw what I was made of, walking around with a bald head like the men, right? And I'll do it again. I've done it several times since then.
Mm.
And I'm still beautiful. I'm still a woman. And I hear so many men out there saying, I don't want a woman who got a who look like mine, who head look like mine. To each his own. You have a right, baby. Right? But at the same time, you doing right, you just stay away from me. Right? You in the right place. Because I'm not coming after you, baby.
You got that option.
He that finds a wife finds a good thing. I'm not coming after you, so you ain't got nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. But you
the name of that movie is Inside Out, by the way.
Inside Out, yes.
Yep.
You got to be comfortable within your skin. You got to know who you are. Whether your hair is completely off your head, short like mine, honey, because I'm fine at the end of the day, okay? You know, I don't care if anybody think that, oh, you ain't that fine. I'm fine. I don't care what you say. I know what I look like to me. Correct, ain't nobody asked you.
Hey, my wife here made a comment, and this is true. She said more men sweat her when she has her low cut, and I could see her confidence build when her hair is cut.
Yes, because that's our roots, baby. That's our roots. Come on, Conda. Tell your wife, come on, Wakanda. Let's do this. Right? I love it.
Okay.
But a real man loves a woman regardless. She could have a flat chest, a flat butt, some for the lack of better terms, since we're on live, short fingernails that don't have that's down to the meat. You know what I mean? But she keeps them really nice. You know, she can have small lips or big eyes. You know, whatever it is. If he loves her, he loves her. Same with a woman. I didn't know I like big guys. I like fat guys. I like them. I like masculine guys, and I don't care. I like skinny guys. I'm a little thick bone, you know what I mean? We work something out. But all I'm saying is, it's not about all of that. I love the way TD Jake said. He said, it ain't about your hips, lips, and fingertips, okay, baby? It's not about that. It's about your personality, right?
Yeah.
It's about what you stand for, how you look at, how you feel about yourself. Because people get into relationships wanting them to build them up. No, you build yourself up. We're going to help you stand up. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep you there. We're going to build you even up higher. That's what women do. A real woman will build up her man. And a real man will build up his wife.
Yeah.
Right? His woman, his wife, he's going to speak life into her, and she's going to speak life into him. Because at the end of the day, it is the woman's job. I don't care what nobody say. It is the woman's job to keep the neck of her man strong. Because once his head swivel, you lost him. Because you're not helping. He's already built, but you're not standing in that gap where he's weak. So where he is weak, I am strong. You know how the Bible tells us. Where he is weak, you need to stand there and you need to build. Get up, baby. This is not the man that I married. You're stronger than this. You can do it. I got you until you get there. But you got to get up from here, baby. Indeed. Because you're depressed. I'm not going to sit around here and watch you depressed. Right? Mm-hmm. Men love to be uplifted. They love to be spoken into. We tear our men down so much that they feel like they got to have a type, a certain, swag about themselves to get a woman. Yeah, please smell good. I'm not telling you to walk around here funky and unshaved. I'm not saying that.
And some dudes do that. So, no, yeah. I'm
just saying.
Not me though, but I'm just saying.
I'm just being real. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
if you can't have me on the show and
yeah.
think that I'm not gonna be real with the peoples.
For real, for real, for real.
I'm gonna be real with the peoples because
I
at the
got a
end of the
collection of
day,
smell good in the room, so hey, I got choices and I use them.
that's
So
what I'm talking
nobody can tell
about.
me jack
And
about that
ladies,
for
same
sure.
thing. But you know what? What I recognize, there is somebody out there for somebody. You know, untidy people meet untidy people.
Mm, like
You
attract.
know, combative people meet combative people.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
you like-minded people flock together.
mm,
You know, but
mm-hmm.
they still have the same problems as people who ain't. People who still, you know, people who dress nice and got it going on a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same problems.
Yeah, yeah. And you really hit on a lot of things that we could do to fix the problems that's really uh destroying the fabric of our foundation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We need to
Mm-hmm.
get back to learning who we are as men and learning who
Yes.
we are as women and
Authentically.
authentically, yes. And for the record, you know, even that submissive piece, submission is not being a person's slave. Submitting to the right man is letting you be in your feminine energy, letting the woman be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Woman don't want to wear the jeans and the skirt and the hat and the brim and all that other stuff.
Really don't.
No, that's our
Mm-hmm.
role. And a lot of men need to learn how to step up and be that man. Stop being the male. We need to be men and walk into our purpose because that is
So,
our purpose.
so I got to help you out with this one,
You go for it.
brother Ross.
I'm just
Brother
saying
Ross.
because
So
I see a lot of these
hold
dudes,
on.
they ain't
Because
on that, man.
a lot of there are a lot of men that are men, okay, not boys. Okay.
Yeah,
There are a lot of men out there, and there's a lot of women out there who meets men, right?
right.
And based on that woman's upbringing, she's strong.
S
She's,
A
hold
M.
on, let me finish. She's strong. She's brilliant. She's tough, right?
Yeah,
She meets this strong, brilliant, tough man.
yeah.
They both have those same dynamics, right? And
Yeah, I know where you're going.
a man who's not being a man is intimidated by it. When she ain't, she's just being her authentic self. A real man would say, baby, hold up.
Mm,
I love how you are.
mm.
But this piece, that's a no-no for me, baby.
It's a no. See, now you
And
talking.
and you're not like, you trying to wear the pants. Shut up and sit down somewhere and go figure yourself out. Because you the one that's insecure now. You
Mm,
can't handle her strength. Go sit down somewhere. Go figure out your life because you with the wrong woman. And woman, you better recognize you with the wrong man. Because at the end of the day, you already see what it's going to be. I remember now I grew up with five brothers. I'm the only girl.
yeah.
I'm not the youngest, but looking at them now, I look like the youngest. They some trees right now, okay? They left me in a short room.
Oh,
And I mean height, okay?
right.
But me growing up like that, I was definitely a tomboy,
Mm,
right?
mm,
I literally, it took God. That's why I wrote War Before Wisdom, because it took everything God to pull that testosterone out of me. Because the testosterone was so bad, I don't care how strong, how mentally strong you were or physically strong, I'm gonna come at you. That's who I used to be. If you're gonna talk to me like this and act like this, I'm gonna show you that I can be the man that you are.
mm,
That was the mentality I had
mm.
because of how I was brought up.
That
So
environment.
I
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to see my mama femininity. Sorry, right? I didn't get a chance to see that with a man. So all I saw and remember is being tough. I can play every sport, right? I can throw a ball as far as a man could. I could talk like the men. That's why I had so many male friendships more
Mm,
than female. because I was more interested in what they can do, what men like to do, versus women gossiping. But God, when I found out who I was in Christ, He taught me how to be this beautiful woman that I am today. Right? He taught me how to speak like a woman, move like a woman, dress like a woman. Right? He taught me all of these things, and I had to literally put them in place. It took a while. I used to cry at night because I didn't want to be I didn't want to have this testosterone. I would look at women and they would think I'm gay because I admired how they looked and how they walked. I had to walk, but I ain't had nothing else. That walk was mine, right? It didn't change, and it still haven't. But it still didn't, it just, I couldn't change. But as you grow older, you have to want that change. You have to desire it. You have to take the steps, the necessary steps to come out of that place where you are, because you're never going to have a good man that you call a good man. Okay. You're never going to have a good woman if you're not strong enough to stand in your grown man's shoes and actually speak love into your the person that you're going to wife, or the wife that you already have. I've talked to so many aggressive women, and I just listen to them. I sit back in my chair in my office like this. Or either I'm taking notes. I get tired of taking notes. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. I see where this is going. I sit back in my chair and just listen.
Yeah.
And I ask questions. So what makes you think your husband appreciate that? Appreciate what? What you just said. You just said that, blase, blase, blase. Well, I ain't never thought of it like that. I mean, it's just one of those things. You have to. It's nothing wrong with a woman having masculinity, and there's nothing wrong with a man having femininity. You meet each other where you are. It's unification.
Yeah.
There's no space in between there. So that means mama, daddy, sister, brother, and your best friends can't get up in here. Okay. Unity. Togetherness.
Yes.
Bond. Nobody knows about this stuff because they don't want that. If you want that, I can't say they don't want that. Those people who acting outlandish don't want it. They don't want to take the time to think of who they are, build themselves. And people will tell you about you. It's okay. Say, okay, I never thought, nobody's ever said that to me. Let me take some time to ponder with that. You got some smart Alex out there who talk crazy. And no, you ain't gonna want to talk like that in that moment. But you think about that in your head. Let me think about that. Let me go home and think about that. Then somebody else come and say something, right? They say the same thing, and they wasn't even around each other. They don't know each other. Something is right. So figure out yourself. God sent people to tell you about you sometime because you ain't listening to him. So let me use a body.
Yeah.
To come and tell you about you. When the Lord told me about myself in the Bible, I'm telling you, I was mad. I'm down here praying and crying, and you calling me a harlot. Woo! Woo! Honey. I was like, okay. I'm telling you, I can't wait. I'm gonna put that book back out there, War Before Wisdom. I want you guys to get it. I'm gonna let you guys know. We're gonna do another podcast.
Indeed.
And I want to talk about that book because I tell you, it is intriguing. It make you laugh, it make you cry, make you smile, and make you, think about yourself.
Man.
That's how I can be authentically me, Mark. I don't care about what the world thinks of me. I don't care about their ideologies and I care about what the Almighty God wants for me. And if I'm being who I am and I'm wrong, he's going to convict me. But I will never let a man or woman, when I say man, I mean like the Bible say, anybody, any person, condemn me. They can't convict me, but they would definitely use condemnation. I would never allow that in my life again. You would never get to condemn me because you may be right about something, but let me go to God and see what he thinks about this. Because this is why we can't be good. Well, I won't say good. We can't be obedient men and women of God. is because we're so used to men and women in the church dictating our life and telling us what we can and can't. What the Bible says. God did not say beat us over the head with the word of God. We're supposed to read the word and apply it. There's a process to this. I am not a hypocrite because I still do this, but that's a whole nother podcast. Okay. But this is all a part of being unapologetically you. Right? Look up unapologetically me. Look it up. Find out for yourself. I could care less about how the world decides to run things. Everybody is clued in on how the world see you, because that's what we were conditioned to see and follow. If you buy two different kind of seeds and put it in the ground, is it going to grow the same? So what makes you think you growing the same? Right?
Yep.
You didn't come out the womb with me. How you going to tell me what to do? Right? How you going to tell me what I've been through? How are you going to tell me how to change? I can't tell nobody. As a therapist, I will not give you any advice. Don't come in my office thinking I'm giving some advice, and don't come in my office thinking I'm going to side with one or the other. That is my statement that I tell them all. Don't come in here with that, because you ain't getting it. I hear both of you. I see both of you. I hear the things you ain't telling me. So it helps me develop the questions that I'm going to ask you. I ain't telling you nothing. I learned my lesson with one client that way, and they told me, let us do it. You're right. Thank you for that, because it only makes me a better therapist.
Yeah, you got it. Man. Barbara Andrews.
Yes, Mr. Mark Ross.
You were cooking. You were cooking. And I knew that this would be the way it was.
I didn't.
I already had the vibe, and yeah. And you made some good points as to what we could do as men and women to make our relationships better too. And I think that if we really started that trend of doing that, I think that these conversations would be different, a lot different, and different for the better too, because there's some work that needs to be done out there. You know what I'm saying? There's some work that needs to be done, and it starts at home.
It does.
We need to teach our young men and our young women how to be women and men, and you know, get into that good book. You know, if you're into that, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I am, and I'm gonna speak on that. I am, you know, but if you choose to do other things, that's you. But we need to get into a place where we can tell our kids, you know, what to expect as an adult, what is expected of you as an adult man or adult woman, and how to treat each other in relationships.
Well, you know, Mark, that's a start. But, you know, there's influence today. You know, there's influence once the kids get out and, you know, they have an image that they have to maintain, you know what I mean, in this life, you know. But at the same time, when you teach your kids to be authentically them, you know, it's going to be hard for them in the moment. You know what I mean? Because unless they're really strong, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking back of my children and, you know, growing up, and I taught them how to have a voice, which started their reshaping them being authentically them and not having to show out or pretend like they're this or that. Right. And to this day, my kids are very, very boisterous, and they're loud, and they're opinionated, and they have facts. They go dig up facts, and they'll talk to you about the facts, and they'll debate. They're great debaters. Right. But at the end of the day, you know, our children are influenced by things, and you know, when they come to you, just listen to them. You know, just listen to the babies. Let them come. Don't condemn them and make them feel like, now, you know, boy or girl, I ain't taught you nothing like that. Don't come in here talking to me about such a. No, we not having that kind of conversation because you know better. What? They have a right to hear your opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, just be honest with your kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? I really don't know how to address that. Let me call your uncle such and
We're
such.
right. I was about to say the
Let
same
me
thing.
call Granny.
Oh, your uncle.
Right. Let me call Granny.
Oh, your
It's
uncle,
not
man.
enough to you, right? I mean, I did it. There's stuff that I didn't know how to talk to my kids about. I sent them
Yeah.
to Granny, or I sent them to their, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You have to do what you have to do to you can learn too. Granny, I want to sit and hear this because I don't remember you saying this to my mama. You know what I'm saying? Or mama, I don't remember you saying that to me when you was raising me. But everybody is different, and it's hard. I don't want them in my business, and everybody's embarrassed. And I get it. Not everybody can be a me, Not everybody can just not care what the people think or what they say. The people then say stuff to hurt my feelings so much to the point that I'm numb about it. It's like, and then working in where we worked, literally, that was some thick skin you had to have.
Yeah. For real.
So, you have to be authentically you. You have got to find yourself. Who are you? What makes you tick? What causes you to be at your best place in life? Positively, okay? I'm going to say that because I have to. Positively. What caused you to be in your best state of mind? Your best place where you feel like you can put a foot forward and actually do something different than what you've been doing. Because in this life, you're forever changing. You're forever changing or not. And when you're not changing, I had to change with the times with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
When your kids are infants, you're one way. When they become toddlers, you're another way.
Way.
When they become preteens, you're another way. When they become a teenager, you're another way.
Indeed.
So, and if you're not shifting with your kids, now you're acting like your kids. I'm going to leave that right there.
Sister Barbara, it has been a pleasure speaking with you this evening, and I thank you for taking the time out to joining in on this because this was good. This was good, and it was a needed conversation. So
thank you for having me. I sure enjoyed it.
I know.
Did anybody have questions, or did we answer them along the way?
Yeah, we
nice.
We got to them.
Oh, you flowed through that. I like that. All right.
Oh yeah, I had to throw it in as we would,
Give your wife a big hug for me. Tell her I would love to meet her personally. Because I just love those questions, and I hope I answered those questions, and she was able to, grasp it and talk to some other women about it, because that submission stuff is, people are still running away with that stupidly. And yes, I said that word.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're running away with that submission word stupidly in ignorant. Some people are ignorant, and I can accept ignorant more than stupid, because ignorance means you don't know. People take that as a bad word, but ignorant means I really don't know.
I don't. Yeah, and it's okay to.
Stupid means I know, but this is the way I'm. Okay, you can remain stupid then.
Indeed.
Because that's typically not a bad word. That's not a stigma. That's the definition of stupid. You're choosing not to accept the fact that this is the truth of the matter.
Mm.
And you're going to do what you want to do anyway. Stupid. Anyway, go ahead and wrap this thing up, because I'll be, look, I'm just saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard a lot from Mr. Barbara Andrews this evening, and I hope that you enjoyed our conversation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Miss Barbara on Facebook. Barbara Andrews is her name. Reach out, give her a wave. If you have any questions, hit her up. And as always, guys, it's okay to not be okay, but do something about it. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. Everybody be well. Sister Barbara, enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
All right. Take care now. And take care, everybody else. Bye-bye.